This is the plaintiff, Mark Hall. He says he hired the defendant to install security cameras, and he kept throwing good money after bad because the inept guy didn't know what he was doing. The cameras weren't placed properly to see his yard. They didn't work 24/7, like promised, and he wants his hard-earned $1,024.44 returned because he didn't get what he paid for. This is the defendant, Chris Farah. He says he went above and beyond for this customer, but he's one of those impossible-to-please types. Besides, the plaintiff caused all the problems when he decided to move the recording system from his bedroom to the playroom, and he's the one who messed everything up. He's accused of not getting the picture. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $855 for the balance of money owed.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff hired the defendant to install a security system in his home. Says it was so complicated he couldn't figure out how to use it. Now he wants his money back. But the defendant says that the guy monkeyed around with his work, and that's why it isn't working. It's the case of Smile. You're on Candid Camera.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Hall, you are requesting a refund of $1,024.44 that you say you paid the defendant for recording equipment that never really worked. Tell me what happened.
Yes, ma'am. I hired Mr. Farrell from a referral from my neighbor to install 5 cameras, which ended up being 6. He gave me one for free around my home so I could have constant recording around my home. He came and set it up the first day, and he did not finish. The second day he came, and he could not get the system to work properly. The picture kept dropping out. The network kept dropping on it. So he suggested another system.
Okay, before we get there, before we get to the second system he suggested, the first system was wireless, correct?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And
yes,
5-megapixel cameras.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's the only thing that's in writing is the first system that he put in, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And how much had you paid him by the time you realized the first system is not working for you?
I just added it up for the first install, Your Honor. It was $849.44.
Now, there was a problem with the wireless system. What was the problem, Mr. Hall?
The pictures kept dropping out. It wasn't recording. It just kept breaking down.
Intermittent service?
Yes.
Because it's relying on wireless. State of the art.
Yes. Yes,
right.
ma'am.
So now, according to Mr. Farah, he had set things up one way and you had turned around and moved stuff. Tell me about that.
I'm not sure what he's talking about.
What are you talking about, Mr. Farah?
In order for the wireless cameras to work properly and not drop intermittently, it has to be centralized in the home.
What has to be centralized?
The NVR box, that is the wireless transmitter that records everything.
So where had you put it?
I had put it in his room in a shelf in a cupboard underneath the TV.
His bedroom?
His bedroom is centralized in the house, is in the middle, and I put it in a cabinet, and it doesn't make any noise. There's no fan. There's no anything to bother anybody. He had called me and said some of the cameras aren't working. I went out there to check it out. I realized that he moved it to the other side.
Is he not allowed to move the router?
He's not supposed to move it from centralized location. So the only way for this to work would for it to be in the cupboard under his TV in his bedroom.
And why didn't you want it there, Mr. Hall? What difference does it make where the router is?
Your Honor, the pictures were dropping while it was in my bedroom where he had put it. I moved it to the play area because I had better signal there. It stayed stable longer, but then it just started dropping.
All right, so you tell him, I don't want this system. How long after he installs it?
Well, I didn't tell him I didn't want it. He couldn't get it to work. So he suggested to go to the direct line system.
Did you?
I said, okay, I just don't
All
want it
right,
to work.
and so what is the premise? That he's going to hardwire it and use the same cameras?
No, the hardwire is a different camera and supposedly different cables, but he kept the same cables. But It's directly connected to the DVR box. So it should have a more stable connection. That's why he suggested to do it that way, but he went down from a 5 megapixel camera to a 2 megapixel camera.
You had to pay more money in order to do this, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
How
He
much
actually
did you
said for
more
him
did
to-
you have to pay?
200. He said $250 he wanted for the other system. On
And
top
he
of
was,
what I already
and
paid.
according to you, Mr. Farah, you were also going to be eating some money, right?
Yes, ma'am. I was going to be eating, it was cost me $480 and 2 days worth of labor that I did. And Mr. Hall asked me, is this going to cost me anything? And I said, yes, sir. If you could split the difference, because I put in 2 systems. I put in one system upstairs and one system downstairs in order for there to be no wires showing.
Were you able, the first system that was dropping, did you uninstall those cameras? Did you take them back with you?
I uninstalled them, yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
were you able to return them to the manufacturer?
No, ma'am. I just kept them, and
So
that
you
was
have
the end
them.
of that.
All right. So
Yes.
now, did you ever tell him the cameras that I'm installing now are going to be a lesser quality? They're going to be 2 megapixels?
Yes, ma'am. What we did was we walked around
Why
his
did they
home.
have to be 2 megapixels?
The camera system that I put into his home, the 2 camera systems, the 2 4-channel camera systems, are Hikvision, and they're 2 megapixel, which is still 1080p high definition.
So they didn't have to be 2 megapixels. It's just that that's what would put you less out of pocket and him less
Yes,
out of
ma'am.
pocket. Did you
Yes,
ever tell
ma'am.
him, though, we're going from 5 megapixels to 2 megapixels?
Yes, ma'am.
And he okayed
his-
it?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you
His
ever get
neighbor
that in
actually-
writing?
No, ma'am. It was
Do you
a
have
verbal,
it in
but
texts?
no, ma'am. But I
Okay,
have a
watch
witness.
this. Mr. Hall, did you know you were going from 5 megapixels to 2 megapixels?
No, I did not, Your Honor, not right away.
Okay, when did you find out?
When I was complaining to him about the picture quality,
Of the
Then
new,
he
the
reminded
second
me, he's-
installation. Because he comes in, he does the second installation, now it's hardwired, and you complained about the quality, and then he tells you what?
he told me that before he installed it, he told me that he was going to put 2 megapixels in there.
And you tell him, no, you didn't.
Well, I didn't say I know he didn't. He may have told me that, but he told me the picture was the same. It was going to be a great quality, but
Okay.
it wasn't.
Do you remember whether he told you or you don't remember?
I don't remember. I can't say he's lying.
This is why it's
a
a great idea to have any change orders in writing. So then, Mr. Hall, you accept the new deal, and then you complain about the quality of the 2 megapixel because you feel it's not the same quality, right? And then he says what?
He says that's the camera. We can get you some other cameras. You know, more money, I'm sure. It wasn't just the quality; they were dropping also.
Why were they dropping?
I don't know, ma'am.
You end up hiring
he's gonna
another
come and fix
company
it.
and paying them how much?
It was like $2,800, man.
Okay, is it dropping now?
No,
Oh,
and they installed it in 2 days.
right. Lo barato sale caro. The cheap comes out expensive. Mr. Farah, you have a counterclaim against him for $855. You want $350 for installing 7 cameras, but you already have a bunch of his money. Why would he have to pay you $350 for installing 7 cameras? You have a deal with him where you were not going to make that. So why would I impose a contract he didn't sign and he didn't agree to? That's not what you guys.
Well, ma'am, the 2 days that I did the second install, I had to redo everything.
That's because the first install didn't work.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Like,
That's-
I mean, because he didn't want to pay you $800 for a system that didn't work. He wanted to pay you $800 for a system that did work. And then when he's already into you for $800, he thinks, all right, let me just pay an extra 200 and something, and then I'll have a system that works. And according to him, it didn't. According to you, it was still intermittent when he wired it, Mr. Hall?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you tell him that? Did you tell Mr. Farah that, or did you just complain about the quality of the picture?
No, he knew that. Actually, he said he was trying to get an appointment with tech to figure out what was going on with it.
And then what happened that he didn't get an appointment with tech to figure out what was going on with it? What happened between you two? Did you just tell him, don't bother, I'm hiring someone else? Or he just never shows up?
He kept assuring me he was going to fix it and he was going to come, but he kept delaying or giving excuses or coming to do the finishing touches on the installation.
So what happened? How long did you wait for him to do that before you hired someone else?
Toward the end of November, I contacted another company and they came out
So
and,
why hadn't you gone
looked
back
at the
to,
system.
if he had complaints about the second system as well, and he obviously did because he hired someone else to do the whole thing over. So if he had complaints about it, why didn't you go out there, Mr. Farrick? Because you felt like you were
Ma'am,
just throwing good money after bad and enough, and you've done
no,
enough? What is it?
that's not the case at all, ma'am. My character is the type of character that I am. Is I want to do a good job and make people happy. I was never aware that it was intermittent. I was aware that the megapixels were lower, that he was complaining about the picture quality, number one. And number two, he wanted motion like detection to give him alerts on his phone. And that's what I was trying to contact
And you never
tech
got that.
support
And
about.
the system is supposed to work that way. There's two ways
Yes,
for the
ma'am.
system to work, chronically or motion detector. He wanted it motion detector, and you were never able to figure out how to connect the system properly to make it be motion detector. You were supposed to come back and do that. What happened that September, October, November passed and you didn't?
The 3 months did not pass that I didn't do that, Your Honor. I had called my tech support to find out how to set. See, there's motion alerts.
Can you just answer
like,
me though? Why didn't you go back and fix it?
I needed to figure out how to do it from tech support.
Yes, I know. How long were you trying to figure out how to do it from tech support? Because that's you stay there until you get it done. So why didn't you go back and talk to tech support and take care of it?
Between the time that I did talk to tech support to be able to fix it and the time that it took me to do that, he had called me and he had said your tech.
How much time did it take you? When you say between the time, how much time was that?
5 or 6 days, ma'am.
He's saying that it's way over that. When did you install the second system?
About a month after the first system.
Does that sound right, Mr. Hall?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor.
According to you, he waits 5 or 6 days. According to you, it's how long, Mr. Hall?
It was more than 2-3 weeks. Me reading the text, I can see, because he had an appointment with tech support. He couldn't get in there.
Let's see the text.
Most of it's on the text.
On November 1st, he asks you any word with the tech, and you say, yes, it will be tomorrow that I can get the help I need. It actually works out better that way because I will be able to have more time to get trained from her. Hello, Mark. I'm scheduled to speak with tech support at 3:30 today. She wants me to come in tomorrow to Blue Star. They kept dropping internet at the store while we were on the computer. This is such a stupid waste of my valuable time. It is easier if I just go in tomorrow. To which you say then, tomorrow, I have a family health emergency.
Yes, ma'am.
He constantly texts you and says, call me. It's been 8 days. I have not had contact to fix these cameras. Is it time to get a refund and hire someone else? To which you respond, that's very inaccurate, 8 days. It's been 4 days. And I communicate with you. My sister passed away. That's why I wrote you that I'm handling a family emergency. And then everything goes to pot. Did your sister pass away?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
And then by the 14th, he says, I haven't heard from you. I'm going to hire someone else. You say to him, I won't be able to refund you by December 1st. I will refund, but I have to make monthly installments. But did you, in fact, ever pay a penny?
No, ma'am.
Oh, I think you maybe might have bit off more than you can chew on this one. I feel bad, but it's not my job to feel bad for someone. It's my job to figure out whether there's been a breach of contract. And
Yes,
I don't
ma'am.
know how we can look at this and not see a breach of contract. He doesn't pay you for a semi-working system. He pays you for a fully working system. And he was even agreeable to working with you and all right, if I just pay you another $200, then it'll be fine. And he pays you the other $250 and hoping that it'll be fine. And then it's not fine, and you never got around to finishing doing what you needed to do. In order to get it to work. And you have reasons, but I still only have to call the balls and the strikes. It wasn't 3 months, you're right, but it wasn't 5 days, he's right. He waited and waited and waited, and you never did come back to fix it. So I don't know that I can look at him and say he got a benefit out of anything that you did. And if he didn't, if he's out $1,024.44 to you, and he got no benefit from what you did, then why wouldn't he get his money back? The answer is he would. I'm finding in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of the $1,024.44 because he never had functioning equipment there. You have the first set of equipment. we're going to make arrangements with Officer McIntosh for you to get the second set of equipment as well, because he shouldn't be able to keep that. Verdict for the plaintiff, $1,024.44 on the counterclaim 0. And the defendant gets the equipment.
So the plaintiff prevails. He gets his money back from the defendant. Mr. Farah, the defendant, you described the plaintiff as a guy who was impossible to please, but it really didn't turn out that way at all. You didn't give him what he asked for. How do you feel about the judge's decision?
I don't think I was given opportunity to really speak. I mean, the second system I put in worked absolutely fine. It was not intermittent. It was just the motion detection alerts that he needed. But the pictures were fine. Everything worked fine. I don't agree with the outcome.
Well, I'm sorry, but the judge doesn't agree with you there.
Yes.
He just simply wasn't satisfied with what you gave him. And, you know, you got to satisfy your customers. All right, Mr. Hall, I know it's been a long road for you here. I assume you're satisfied right now. The new system you have is working fine, right?
Yes, sir.
Why did you want such a sophisticated camera system around your house anyway? Any specific reason for that?
Well, I don't know about sophisticated. I just wanted a system that recorded all the time and gave me notifications if someone comes up on my property. And Mr. Farrell he installed the camera, but it didn't do what he said it could do, and it kept dropping. So I'm happy with the judge's decision. I really did try to work with Mr. Farrell. I mean, we started the process in August, and I understand he had a death in the family. I also had a death in the family. But it's business, it's not personal.
All righty. Well, hope things work out for you from now on. All right, Harvey.
Okay, Doug, look, couple of things. Number one, the idea that this defendant is saying, well, he screwed it up. When you get a service and you're the customer, you have a right to expect that it will work, not necessarily with great ease, but work without great difficulty. So that's number one. Number two, when you have a contract and it is frustrated, where you're getting no value out of it, that's when you get a full refund. We've seen plenty of cases in people's court where something is partially done correctly, and then what you do is you kind of split things up and you get part of the money back. Here, it was valueless. The customer really got no value for his buck, and that's why he got a full refund.
As an experienced judge, can you change the ruling that a jury makes? For example, the jury says you're innocent of stealing a car, but you as the judge know the person's guilty. Can you change it?
Judges can do certain things procedurally to change a verdict, but never in a criminal case. Right. It's a one-way street. You can direct a verdict of not guilty where you determine that there's just not enough proof for somebody to have been found guilty on those facts. But no,
in a criminal case, the defendant has, a right not to be put in jeopardy twice. It's right. Double jeopardy.
It's right to the Fifth and Sixth Amendments, and your right to a jury trial.
So you're acquitted. You're acquitted forever.
Exactly.
That's done.
I remember I once had a jury trial as a federal prosecutor where I convicted a CPA of an obstruction of justice charge, and the judge could have granted a directed verdict at the end of the evidence, and he didn't. He let it go to the jury. The jury convicted her, and then he said, you know what, no reasonable jury could possibly have convicted her on this evidence, and I'm giving an acquittal, a JNOV, judgment
notwithstanding the verdict.
Right, judgment.
Which is actually a tactic judges may reserve on a motion like that and just let's see how it plays out, because that jury's probably going to acquit that guy, and then I don't have to take the heat. And then the jury doesn't acquit the person. You say, you know what, my shoulders are strong and my back is broad and I'm taking the heat, and you just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, it went up on appeal, and I filed the brief and I argued the appeal before the circuit court. And I lost. So,
you lost.
Judge Gold was right on that one, probably, and she was not guilty.
Right. But, most of the times judges want to respect, and the system wants to respect the job that a jury does, because it's a very solemn oath, and it's, they took their time and they did something. So unless it's really outrageous, it's probably not going to be molested.
That's going to do it for us now, and we will see you with the next session of the People's Court.